Hello, this is Niantic, and I wanted to talk to everybody today about Pokemon Go. Obviously a very popular game. I've been playing it, half the world's been playing it, and it's still rolling out into countries across the planet. But one of the biggest subjects of discussion is when we're getting new Pokemon added to the game. Of course, the game was launched with only Generation 1, with no real idea of when the rest of the generations were coming out. Pokemon as a franchise has made a habit of introducing around 100 new Pokemon every generation, so it stands to reason that Pokemon Go will follow that trend with a series of updates. The question is really, when? Chances are we're getting them a generation at a time, yet Niantic has not told us when that might be. At one point it was widely speculated that we might be seeing Generation 2 added as soon as late December, maybe just in time for Christmas, but lately that seems to be more and more unlikely. One thing that gets forgotten quite often is that Niantic is a really small company, and so you've got to imagine that adding and balancing 101 new Pokemon isn't going to be an easy feat. And that's on top of keeping the game running and adding other new features such as trading, PvP, and just general bug fixes. So that got me thinking, why do we have to add in whole generational blocks? As we well know, every generation is built upon the previous generation's roster with new evolutions, pre-evolutions, and branching evolutions. None more so than Generation 1, which as of last generation has received 31 such additions to its roster. So, rather than pushing to introduce 101 new Pokemon in a single swoop, Niantic could release a smaller update of these 31 Pokemon, essentially a Generation 1 expansion pack, if you will. This then cuts down Generation 2's remaining roster to 83 Pokemon, which, whilst not a massive difference, would be a little bit more manageable to implement. Of course, this idea falls off a little with later generations. Generation 2's expansion would consist of a mere 12 Pokemon, and then Generation 3 down to just 7. Generation 3's roster would also only be reduced by 2 Pokemon in the form of Azurill and Wynaut. However, I believe that by the time Generation 3 has been released, the pressure to add new features would have fallen off, allowing for more time to focus on adding new Pokemon to the game. But, continuing this line of thought on, I realised that this could be broken down a little further, and in a way that would help Niantic keep the game fresh and players returning. They have already proposed constant updates to the game, and this idea would help support that. If we take my proposed Generation 1 expansion pack idea, we can actually expand this idea further and just ignore the generations entirely. We already know that a future update will be trading, so a short time after, Niantic could simply release a trade Pokemon pack. This would include Pokemon such as Steelix, Kingdra, and Magmortar, all Pokemon that evolve when traded. Of course the evolution would remain as Candies, as the game currently uses, but the link is there. Other packs could include a baby pack, including Pichu, Elekid, and Tyro, or the friendship pack, which would add Missy, Crobat, and the evolutions. You could follow this idea on and do such things such as a fossil pack, which would add all the fossil Pokemon from across the generations in one group. All this would allow for smaller, more frequent updates to the Pokemon roster, and would allow Niantic to slot in smaller groups of Pokemon in a way that would be far easier to balance for both the battle and spawn rate. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and any other ideas you have for Pokemon packs that don't rely on Niantic following Pokemon generations. If you like this video, remember to drop a like, and if you aren't already, please consider subscribing. I do other Pokemon videos such as Pokemon Reborn and occasionally other game series. Thanks for listening, I've been Niantic. Good night.